Welcome, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 105 of the Premier Pod. I'm your host, Yashpika, joined by my co-host, Tyler Chan. And in this episode, we have the special Transfer Deadline Day, Winter 2021 episode here. There's a lot of transfer dealings that literally happen on Deadline Day, which Tyler and I were talking about. It's a little bit unique because usually on winter transfer during the winter transfer window we don't see a bunch of transfers, but to have all these happen on deadline day is kind of crazy. So it kind of just speaks to the times we're in right now. But before we jump into talking about the transfers, we're recording this on Tuesday, February 2nd. So we're in the middle of a match day weekend, but due to our schedules, we kind of have to record it today. And Manchester United just beat Southampton 9-0 at home at Old Trafford, just smacked them. And it was a crazy game because this is the biggest Premier League win for Manchester United since they beat, I believe, Ipswich Town 9-0 in the Premier League, which is it's pretty crazy that I think it was close to like 20 years since the last time that's happened. So it was a vintage United display. I mean, they were scoring goals like for fun, basically, because Southampton got a red card within the first minute. It was Alex, what was his name? Yeah. He's 19-year-old on his Premier League debut, got a red card right away after doing a rash challenge to McTominay, and then United just went to town after that. And I have to give him credit because it's sometimes, as I know it sounds weird, but sometimes it's really hard to score against 10 defenders, and United just were on a mission to attack and score goals. And Ralph Hasenhüttl, unfortunately, has on his resume and CV as a Premier League manager that he's lost 9-0 in 2 seasons in a row. Usually, for CVs for managers in the Premier League, you have 2-time Premier League winner, champion, runner-up, Premier League champion, most goals scored in a Premier League season. But no, Hasenhüttl has literally getting smacked 9-0 twice in consecutive seasons against 2 different opponents. And it is, I don't know whether it's sad or funny. I don't know what to say about that. Do you think it's more sad or funny? Emotional break. Hmm. Yeah, disappointment. And it was funny too because Jan Benrahma also had a terrible game because he had an own goal and gave away a penalty and got sent off as well. And I think Tyler mentioned he had like a 3.9 rating. As That's awful. And what's crazy? I To beat an opponent 9-0, I feel like that's really hard to do. Even in FIFA, when you're playing against an opponent, it's still sometimes really hard to do that. Like you have to be very, very good to do that to another opponent, especially playing online. But I just don't know how these players, because a lot of the same players that got smacked 9-0 last season are still playing for this team, like Danny Ings, James Ward-Prowse, Shea Adams, Bednarak. I mean, you can name it. Pretty much same group of players, but gosh, it must really hurt their psyche to know that they lost a man really early in the game, but they also lost 9-0. And I don't know how they're going to recover from this because this is tough. And I don't know how Hasenhüttl, as much good as he's been doing this season, I don't know. Can you trust him to be your manager going forward? Because are you afraid that a 9-0 is waiting to happen each season that he sticks around? Gosh. I will say for me, it was really fun to see Manchester United score 9 goals because since I've been a United fan, I've had, I guess, not the luxury, but seeing managers that are very more defense minded and pragmatic, such as Louis Van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, who don't really care about winning by 5, 6 goals. They would rather win by 1 goal and just set up shop and pack it up. And it was nice to see United just continue on and attacking. Dan James got a goal. Bruno Fernandes scored a penalty. Martial got on that scoring on the score sheet, which is important because he was out of form. McTominay scored a banger. I don't know what is up with McTominay. That guy, Mexos, just scores absolute bangers no matter what. As much as I criticize him, and a lot of people do criticize him, he somehow shows up with goals. And it was a good display. Rashford got a goal. Cavani got a goal. Juan Bissaka got a goal. I mean, and it was funny. Like Maguire was basically playing like a box to box central midfielder during that game too, just going up as much as he wants. So it was a good display. I mean, as a United fan, it's very good to see they bounce back from a pretty little rough patch, losing to Sheffield and then also drawing to Arsenal. So it was a good bounce back game, a really good bounce back game for them. So hopefully they can use this to kick on and, keep going forward. But they've actually right now, they've currently scored the most goals in the Premier League right now at 46, which is pretty impressive because that hasn't happened for a United side in a while. Usually you think City or Liverpool are going to be up there on the top. So United, I don't know. It's funny. They win 9-0, but they also got smacked 6-1 against Tottenham, and then they beat Leeds United, I think, what was it, 6-2? So they've had some pretty wacky and interesting results at home. But enough about United. We got to jump into the transfers. For Liverpool, they did actually make some moves on deadline day, which we were kind of predicting they would have done. In last week's episode, we were thinking some other defender, Subotic, but they actually did not end up going after him. They signed Ben Davies from Barrow AFC, which is in League Two, and then they signed Ozan Kabak from Schalke. Kabak is the loan option, a loan with option to buy at the end of the season, and Ben Davies was a permanent buy. So Liverpool went out, splashed their money, got 2 center backs, not for big money, but they got 2 center backs in. And that's really important because Liverpool were basically playing Fabinho and Henderson as their starting center backs and playing a bunch of young kids. So now they have at least some sort of experience back there now. Hmm. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Well, how old is Ben Davies? Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think what's interesting here is this kind of reminds me of sort of when Manchester United signed Odion Igalo last year with that loan option in the January transfer window, where the Fernandes was the big signing, but then Igalo was also brought in. Everyone was like, "What? Why they bringing Igalo? Like, what the heck?" It's so random. But during that time, Marcus Rashford was out for injury, and Anthony Martial. The reason Solskjaer brought Igalo in was just to add a little bit of competition in the striking position. And Igalo chipped in with a couple goals here and there, but he wasn't a big mainstaying factor. But he at least provided a bit of competition and got the squad going, and at least played his part a little bit. And I feel like for Liverpool, they're probably banking on the same fact that, okay, Ben Davies, at 25, maybe he can come in and just do like a little bit of a pinch effort, like in baseball where they call it like a pinch hitter, just coming in for a relief pitcher. I feel like maybe they're trying to roll the dice here with these two center backs and seeing, okay, if they don't work out, it's not the biggest deal because we're not losing a ton of money, but at least they can come in and maybe paper over some of the cracks until we get our big guys back in. And I think I think it's a good move because, even if it doesn't work out completely, maybe there's some potential in signing one of these guys signing Kabak long term, or maybe Ben Davies can just be that relief on the bench center back just in case if something like this ever happens again. So I think for Liverpool, they had to do it. I think it was a really good move that they did do it because if anything, at least they're not losing out on a ton. It's not like they splashed 75 million on a new center back this winter window, and if it doesn't work out, they're in the in the tank because of the money they splashed on them. This is like very little money for a club like Liverpool. The pressure. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. You play for a good team now. Yeah, I think overall, you know, I'll let Tyler mention like this last one that they also had to do this last piece of business that they had to do for Liverpool in the winter window. But with this move, I think it allows them, at least for Klopp's sake, hopefully Fabinho, for Klopp will get back healthy enough. Now, at least their midfield, which has always been, I think, one of the stronger parts of Liverpool because they have a lot of people in that position. Now Klopp can start playing Henderson and Fabinho back in the midfield, and having them in the midfield will be much more beneficial for Liverpool because then they can actually thrive and play in their best positions. And you never know, maybe them playing there will provide some of that assurance and help other players and help elevate other players, such as the attackers, to go have that freedom to go do what they want. The defenders kind of have that assurance that, hey, we have experienced midfielders ahead of us. And you'll just have playing you have players playing in the right position, and I think that will allow them to kind of kick on and start gaining some momentum in the Premier League. And for them, I think it was well worth the risk because I think it does put them back as legitimate title contenders. Not that they were ever not, but I feel like it would have been hard for them to win the Premier League title if they didn't sign any type of defender. So I think with these moves, I think it puts them. I think it puts them back on track to kind of fight and win back the Premier League title and win it 2 times in a row. But Tyler, I don't know. Do you think this is now their time to kind of kick on and try to go for the title again? Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like maybe they did it because they have maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird because they don't have a ton of depth in the attacking three. I mean, they're still waiting for Jota to get back healthy, and then yeah, they have Shaqiri, and then Origi's kind of the striker replacement. But I don't know. I think Minamino only plays out in the wings, right? He doesn't really play striker. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, I know it's sad. But we'll see. We'll see how he does. Hopefully, he can kick on and help Southampton out a little bit during this short loan period. towards them for the rest of the season. But that was pretty much Liverpool's day in the transfer window. I feel like they probably had one of the busiest days, especially for a top club to have such a busy winter transfer window, especially on deadline day. I mean, Liverpool are no strangers to winter transfer moves. That's kind of been their soiree of signing like top players such as Van Dijk, Suarez. They signed Carroll also. The double deal, but I'll just throw that in there. They are a club known to make some moves in the winter transfer window. So no surprise to see them kind of making some moves there. But another team in the top six. Well, if you want to put quote unquote top six, not looking at the actual standings, Arsenal, they broke up a significant trio of players, which I will quickly name right now is Mesut Ozil, Mustafi, and Kolasinac. All are gone. All of their contracts have been terminated. I think Ozil was it on loan or it was it permanent, right? Friend of Bach? Yeah. Mustafi, contract terminated. He is signed for Schalke. And then Kolasinac, his contract was terminated, but I don't remember exactly where he went. Was it oh, cool. I'll join Schalke. Um, and it was pretty funny because there was this picture of all three of them, I think a couple seasons back of like posing for a picture or whatever. And some Arsenal account or whatever quote tweet is like getting rid of the toxic players or whatever. It's time to move on. And it was just happening. And then not to mention, I think also Henrik Mkhitaryan's contract also got terminated at Arsenal. So Arsenal had a really, really busy January transfer window. They didn't bring a ton of players in, but they did get rid of a lot of the players that were kind of sitting ducks, collecting high wages. And you can start to see that, okay, Arsenal, even though it may be a little bit of a struggle right now, they're starting to really, be serious about rebuilding and not doing this half whimsical thing. They are being serious, and they broke up the trio right there. It's pretty crazy that these three players were on super high wages and now they're just gone. Like it's a pretty bold move just to terminate a contract because you don't gain any money out of it. And I think you actually have to sometimes buy out the contract for the player. Because sometimes I know in American sports, it at least works like that it's a buyout thing if you want to cancel a contract. So big props to Arsenal for making those shrewd moves that, sometimes difficult to make. But, these players have new teams and now Arsenal can kind of do their own thing now. But I don't know. It was pretty funny when I saw that all three of them are just now gone now. Especially Mustafi. Gosh, I remember when he signed. I thought he was going to be really good. He was signed for Valencia, right? And he was the German. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it was like Schweinsteiger or Philip Lahm, Manuel Neuer, maybe those guys, but no, not Mustafi. That's Mustafi. Mm. Man, that's like disrespect. They couldn't even hold you on for 8 more months. Hey. And Colossi is actually from Schalke. Arsenal literally signed him from a free from Schalke, then they just returned him back for free. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's one of those things like they were talking about in the broadcast that he was one of those players that was supposed to be that next Arsenal superstar, and unfortunately has been played out of different positions all the time. And it's one of those things. I can't remember which player we talked about it, but he's kind of that utility player where he can kind of play in a lot of positions, but he can't really specialize in one. So that maybe that kind of stunts his growth. I remember we were talking about that with one player, but I can't remember who we were mentioning. Yeah, 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 and that's very beneficial to have, but I feel like for a young player, that can oftentimes it could be one of the reasons why you play a lot, but it could also be one of the reasons why you don't grow as much, or unless you're like a Kimmich who's like good at everything, basically, you know. But unfortunately, not a lot of players are like that. But for Joe Willock, it's one of those things. He's a the kind of that attacking player. But now that they signed Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka's in there, Emil Smith Rowe, Martinelli's getting fit. I feel like there wasn't enough opportunity. He probably saw that there wasn't enough opportunities in that attacking trio or just in that attacking front for him to kind of get legitimate chances. So it's a bold move for him to go to Newcastle out of all places, considering that, as you said, they don't play the most exciting football, and we see players like Almiron, Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson. They don't create a ton of chances, and maybe they get one or two chances a game. They're not a very attacking side. So Joe Willock is really he's really betting on himself right now to go out there and try to prove himself. But that shows maybe the character he has, that he's willing to go somewhere where he's not, maybe where he knows it's going to be a little bit difficult, but he's just willing to go in there and just give it his all. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, they're going to like almost relegation battle sides. Mm. Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, Big Sam's never been relegated. Yeah, it'll. I mean, I know we had it later, but we could just quickly mention them. I think West Brom. It is like you said, it's one of those things. The defense was the problem, but Big Sam, maybe he's just backing himself to get this team defensively organized, and just he needs a maybe more quality up front in terms of the attacking talent. But I agree with you. I still don't think they're going to stay up because the quality. I think of overall quality, I don't think they have enough Premier League quality to kind of keep themselves up. I think the task is just too big for Big Sam, unfortunately, this time around. Yeah, yeah. And Sheffield United are on the bottom of the league. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, maybe Big Sam can create some magic, but We haven't seen it yet. But going to Everton, who are an interesting side because they signed Josh King on loan, who obviously was the Bournemouth striker that did pretty well in the Premier League while he was playing in the Premier League last season and such. You know, he has the potential to kind of, I know he had those 2 seasons where I think he was getting close to where he had double digit goals actually. And he was one season where he was actually performing very well. I know last season wasn't the best for him, but they had to bring him in because they did release, or no, they did transfer out Czech Tosin to Besiktas, and then they need a replacement for him. But obviously, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are their main strikers, so Josh King is going to play like another backup auxiliary role again. But maybe I think Josh King is a lot better than Czech Tosin, so maybe he might get a little bit more playing time. I think Ancelotti also said that he was very fond of the player and wanted to bring him in. So that's pretty good news if Ancelotti's on your side, because otherwise you will get playing time there. But Yannick Bolasie got loaned out to, or is transferred out to Middlesbrough, so that's another sad one right there. I don't think he's played this season for Everton, right? The Bolasie flick. Yeah, jeez. The Bolasie flick. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. 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 Yeah, and also, you know, it was funny. Last season, United actually tried to loan him in during the January transfer window, but Bournemouth only wanted a permanent buy, and I think Josh King was really pushing for it. But ultimately, obviously, United went for Igalo, which was the loan, and I think that kind of ruptured like some of the relationship because I think Josh King was really pushing to leave, and when he didn't leave, he got upset. So hopefully Everton is kind of the kickstart he needs to get everything back on track. But Fulham, the other team that's in the relegation battle, have signed has signed Josh Maja from Bordeaux on loan. If you don't know Josh Maja, I think everyone probably knows who he is, but if you don't, he is the cult hero from the Sunderland Till I Die documentary on Netflix. He was the kid that was basically lighting it up for Sunderland, then made his move in a very dramatic way to Bordeaux when it was the back and forth from the owners. They were trying to get him to sign long term, but they didn't want to offer him a ton of money. So he's just like, all right, I'm just going to go to Ligue 1 and like go play for Bordeaux. And I haven't looked up too much about his stats and such and how he's developed at Bordeaux, but hopefully being back, you know, in England and such with Fulham, obviously a different club than Sunderland. Hopefully, being back in England might help. Might help. We can probably see some of that magic that we saw in the Netflix documentary where he was scoring goals and creating a ton of chances and just being a good goal scorer. So Fulham kind of need that because Scott Parker definitely doesn't trust Mitrovic because Mitrovic has basically been riding the bench this whole time and they've been playing a wide variety of players. I know Adama Lukman looks really good and I like him as a forward, but I don't think they've been missing like a true striker. And I think Josh Maja can kind of bring that, be like the last piece of that Scott Parker puzzle and maybe hopefully keep them up for another season in the Premier League. Yeah. McGeady. McGeady. Oh, what's his 09? Luke 09? Yeah. They changed his last name. He's no longer Bobby Reed. Yeah. 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 And he's on loan too. So yeah, the guy that we thought were going to be, if you go back to season one, that's the guy we thought was going to be like some, the gold mine, like a steal for Fulham, and he was absolute garbage. Luckily, Ariola has not been like that. Ariola has been pretty solid for them in the back. So we'll see what happens with Fulham. I know we have a little bit of topic about the relegation battle later, but looking at Leicester real quickly, they loaned out or they transferred out Demarai Grey to Bayern Leverkusen. And this is a bit of a weird one because Demarai Grey, I think, is now 24, 25. He's not the young kid that was 18, 19 years old. He was part of the Premier League title winning side. And he, at that time in that 2015-16 season, was the young attacking winger who a lot of people were pretty high on because they're like, this guy has a lot of skills and he has a little bit of flashes of being something special. And then as the seasons went by, Leicester didn't play him that consistently, and he wasn't playing consistently, and they started bringing in other players. And now the way Leicester is set up now, he doesn't really play. And unfortunately for him, I don't see how he could actually break into this starting 11 because I think the starting 11 now is just too solid for him to kind of break in. But hopefully a team like Leverkusen may be what he needs to kind of revitalize his career. I think this has kind of been the theme of the episode. All these players trying to revitalize some of their careers and get their careers kick-started again. Yes. Demarai Grey. Yeah, he was the young winger. Everyone was like the steel winger everyone could buy on career mode during like the older FIFAs, like FIFA 15 or 16. He was kind of like that steel that for like 1 mil you could buy and just keep developing and training, and he'll turn into like the next star. But yeah, he really has not. He hasn't really lived up to kind of the potential Leicester saw in him. So we'll see what happens when he goes to Leverkusen. But we have to mention for Newcastle, we already mentioned that they signed Joe Willock on loan, but there is an American that is no longer there with them. DeAndre Yedlin, unfortunately, has gone to Galatasaray, hopefully where we can get more consistent minutes because this is a bit of a weird one. I thought Yedlin, whenever he did play, I guess it's some of the American bias in me, I thought he looked pretty solid for the most part. And for a team like Newcastle, I thought Yedlin fit in pretty well. I know under Rafa Benitez, he was really developing a lot. And I think Rafa Benitez trusted him a lot. And I think once the manager turnover went to Steve Bruce, I think Steve Bruce opted for different players. And then DeAndre Yedlin slowly got less and less game time. And now he's out of the Premier League and in Galatasaray. So I hope he can get some consistent minutes there because it was a bit sad to see Yedlin not really keep his starting spot as the right back for Newcastle when Benitez left. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I remember when he came out on the scene in the 2014 World Cup, and he was like, "Well, this guy's insane!" Like all he did was just run to the byline as literally as far to the byline as you can get, literally on the white line, and just cut it back. That's all he did. And I was like, this dude is awesome. And then I remember Tottenham bought him, and he played like maybe one or two games for Tottenham. They got loaned out, I think, to Sunderland or Newcastle. Then he played for Sunderland for like one whole season, and then went to Newcastle, and then was just there. And I don't know, it's kind of been a wacky ride for Yedlin because I think he also played for the Sounders before he moved to the Premier League. So this guy's been all over the place. Yeah. Yeah. Wishing him the best of luck there. But looking at Southampton real quickly, the team that got smacked 9-0, I think we have to mention that again. 9-0. Like, come on, like one goal away from 10-0. That's insane. Uh, but they did loan out some players. Shane Long is to Bournemouth. So Bournemouth got their backup striker. I don't really know how good Shane Long is going to be as a replacement striker. This guy barely scores goals to begin with as a striker. Then Jan Valery is out to Birmingham. And Jan Valery is a bit of a funny one because I remember when he burst onto the scene, he was scoring goals like Benjamin Pavard and, scoring bangers from the fullback position. But he really hasn't played that consistently. And Shane Long, I don't know how he's managed to stay at Southampton as long as he has because that guy does not score barely any goals. I think he was literally at one point, I think he went like a whole season and a half without scoring a Premier League goal. And he was still on Southampton. So shout out to him and his agent for keeping him on during this entire time because that's crazy. Yeah, it's weird. He's like the biggest drought and also the fastest goal scorer. Mhm. But yeah, that's kind of what's going. Yeah, it's just kind of like just going around. But the last team, because we already mentioned West Brom, the last team, West Ham, they did loan in the Jesse Lingard, as we like to say, Messi Lingard or Lingardinho or whatever version of Lingard you want to go for, wherever you are and wherever you see your names. The basically he's out to West Ham, and if you don't know, London is his dance floor. He literally called the Emirates when he scored against Arsenal his dance floor. I mean, this guy is a legend, and he's gone to London. So hopefully this is what he needs to really kick on and get his career kind of back on track. I will say from because now he's, I believe, 26, 27. But I will say that the Jesse Lingard that a lot of people saw maybe 3, 4 years ago, the guy that was just dancing and everything, I think that's just part of his personality. And I really like it because he's just a fun guy and such. But I will say he's a lot more mature because I think he's had a lot of life events come at him at as he was getting older and such that he had to kind of, I guess, mature and get a little bit more, just kind of grow up and mature and such. So I think he's definitely in terms of maturity aspect, I think he's a lot more mature than he was 3, 4 years ago. And I feel like this move is probably good for him because I think he's a Premier League quality player, but I don't know if he's really Manchester United quality anymore. I think he had that. It's weird. A lot of these players, there's certain players that kind of have these 1 or 2 seasons where they're just on fire. And then for some reason, they can never really replicate it because maybe they were just exceeding their performances or they're just kind of having some of this magic spell with them. And I think for Lingard, unfortunately, it was kind of maybe some sort of magic spell, or he was kind of exceeding expectations for a little bit, and he played a big role in England's 2018 World Cup run. So hopefully, this move will be good for him, and maybe it might make it a permanent move if he can make a consistent impact there. Because I'd like to see Jesse Lingard perform at a decent level again, because I think he's a good player, and I think he does bring a lot of good energy to any side he's in. Hmm. Yeah, he doesn't have like a ton of skill moves and stuff that he really relies on. It's kind of even when he did play out the wing for United, it was just basically he would always cut inside and just try to be in the middle as much as he could. Hmm. Yeah. I know everyone likes to joke that he's like this promising young player because everyone because he did develop really late because I think when he made his debut consistent debut for United in 2015-16, I think he was maybe 23 at the time, so he was kind of a late bloomer and when it comes to soccer, soccer terms, when it comes to people breaking through. So I think a lot of people tend to forget that his age is a little bit closer to being in that 30-year-old category, but he's still a good player. We kind of know who he is, but as a United fan, I think it's a good move because I just want him to be successful and I want to see him succeed because uh, you know, I will always remember some of the goals he scored for United because he scored some fantastic goals. The FA Cup goal, the goal against Watford. I mean, this guy scores some of the most miraculous, like literally Messi level goals. I just don't get it. I mean, Tyler, you got to agree with me. Some of the goals he scores is like, how did he do that? How did he do that? And literally upper 90, just I want to see him recreate some of that stuff for West Ham. Maybe under David Moyes, he can get some stuff going. But yeah, West Ham also, we're not done from that move. They also signed, I guess, Tyler, you'll take it for this one because you know a little bit more about this player than I do from Brentford. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Because they have some interesting players because they have I think is it Sam Bowen or Jared Bowen, the winger. The I was okay. Yeah, I always get his first name mixed up, but yeah, he. I feel like he just kind of came out of the woodwork and came out of nowhere last season, and he's been a really consistent player for them because I love the energy he brings, and the Mikel Antonio brings a lot of energy. Thomas Suchek is this guy in the midfield that just somehow manages to score a goal pretty much every game. I don't know how he does it. This guy's like 6'5", and then it's built like a stick, but he just manages to score all the time. And then Ogbonna has been playing really well this season for them. I think for West Ham, they just had a lot of pieces work well for them, and they've just kind of been on a roll, and they've been doing well. So I'd like to see these signings. I think these signings are going to be good for them. I think it will make their team better and such. But I wanted to throw two questions we had for this after the transfer window. How much does this change the relegation battle for the first one? And for me, unfortunately, I don't think it changes it too much because I think out of all the teams that probably have the best shot out of their window, I think Fulham, because Fulham have shown this season that they do, I feel like at times have what it takes to maybe stay up. However, it's a big ask, and it's going to take a lot of work from them. And maybe Josh Maja, if he can come in and score a bunch of goals for them right away, that could be that catalyst to get them going. But unfortunately, I still think it's going to be West Brom, Sheffield, and Fulham that'll probably go down for me. I don't think all, like I said, all the out of all the teams there, I think Fulham had the best shot at getting out, but the other two, I think for sure, are probably going down. Get lucky. Graham Potter. And they have decent. They actually signed. I can't believe we forgot about this. They actually signed Moyes Caicedo, and this guy was heavily linked to Manchester United, but United didn't pull the deal because I think Fabrizio mentioned like it wasn't because they weren't willing to cough up the money. I think they just decided not to do it. But from all the reports, I know we always like to say, "Oh, this guy's like the next N'Golo Kante," but from every report I've been seeing from South American reporters, this guy is the real deal when it comes to the midfield. I mean, he is a absolute powerhouse. Like, I mean, this guy controls the midfield, breaks up play. I mean, when people say N'Golo Kante replacement, this guy is literally N'Golo Kante regen. Like this, they're saying this guy's the way he plays is so similar. So Brighton basically got a steal because they also have a really good midfielder in Basuma, who is another quality midfielder for them. So I think Brighton have, they have pretty good quality pieces. So maybe Casiero can kind of be another Kickstarter for them because I think they got a steal for him because I think in probably a season I think he'll probably go to a bigger club and for a really big fee because they definitely got a quality player in him. So, Brighton did. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. I know. Yeah, Newcastle are a bit. It's a bit dangerous because I don't think they can afford going on too many more losing streaks because if you do that, we've seen in the past that these teams on the bottom, you never know, some sort of magic can come their way and they start picking up some wins. And all of a sudden, Newcastle are in the bottom three, and it's really hard to get out of the bottom three. So I don't think they can afford it. And I think they will do enough to stay up. But like I said before, I still think it's going to be the same three that are in the bottom right now are going to be the same three that get relegated at the end of the season. Yeah. Yeah, and then the next question we had is how does this affect the title race when it comes to the top four battle? I would say, and also when it comes to Premier League title, I think this throws a big wrench in it because of Liverpool's two signings with the center backs. I think it will provide them enough maybe firepower to go out City, but I also think this title race is still basically still up in the air. I know City right now have the game in hand. They could, kind of go on a run and just kind of run away with it. But as we've seen, this season is very, very unpredictable. And I still think the title, even Leicester and Chelsea, I wouldn't even count out Chelsea under Tuchel. I mean, they are in a bit of a run right now, two games where they picked up points, but they're not too far off from the title either. Tottenham, I wouldn't say like they're really in it, but they're still sort of in it. But Leicester, United, Liverpool, Man City, I feel like it's a big race going on. And I think with Liverpool signings and the fact that Liverpool plays City during this weekend, if Liverpool can get a victory or get a point there, I think this throws a wrench in everything because I think Liverpool signing these defenders just throws everything else up in the air. And now I feel like City kind of have to, be on their toes a little bit, and that can add a little bit of pressure to them. So I think this definitely throws a wrench in the title race. Oh yeah, how could I forget about the Hammers? How could I forget about the Hammers? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, they have Diallo too. Diallo that they're really high on could kind of put play himself into that right wing position, kind of be that star in there, and develop quickly. He scored twice today, so hopefully that kicks on his season. Hopefully, praying there. But I think it throws a wrench in it. Tyler's not too certain about it, but those are some of the two questions that we had going in, going out of this transfer window. But moving on to the preview section. So as we said before, we are recording this in on Tuesday, so it's the middle of the current match day or match week right now. There's still the second half of games left to be played. The big one, I think, is Tottenham Chelsea still has to be played. We don't know the result of that one, but we will be previewing this weekend's game. So the next match week, which is this weekend, and the first game that we have right now is Manchester United versus Everton, a pretty big matchup because Manchester United are trying to stay in that title race. Everton are trying to get themselves consistently, trying to get themselves back in the top six, get in the top four. They need a result. Manchester United need a result. It's at Old Trafford. I think United can win this game. I would say 3-1. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I would say 3-0, but this defense sometimes gives me a little. I'm not too confident. Sometimes they can switch off and just do something really stupid for no reason. So that's why I'm giving myself a little bit of leeway 3-1, but hopefully it's a 3-0. So we both got Manchester United victories, and then we have Newcastle versus Southampton. And we picked this game because Southampton are obviously coming off a 9-0 loss. And last season, when they lost 9-0 to Leicester, they actually lost 3 games in a row after that. They lost to City twice, and then they lost to, I believe it was Chelsea or another team I'm blanking on, but they did lose 3 in a row before they finally picked up a result. And they need a result because Hasenhüttl was definitely not pleased after losing 9-0. And then Newcastle are on a rut because even though they beat Everton last week, they lost again to this week. And they're just in a weird run of form. But if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Southampton because they've been consistently the better side. And I think they might actually bounce back this year after losing 9-0 because they have to. I think there's just no other excuse. They have to bounce back. Yeah, I will also go 1-0. I go 1-0 as well because I agree with Tyler. No Newcastle scored there. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's happened before, but it's probably been a while since it has. Yeah. But the last game we have, last game we have is Liverpool City. It is the biggest game of the weekend. This game recently has kind of been a cult classic, I would say, because since Klopp has been at Liverpool, these City Liverpool games have been very exciting. Just the amount of goals, the drama. I mean, I remember that year Mane got a red card when I think didn't he kick Ederson in the face or something like that, or Ederson something crazy like that happened. Then City ended up winning that game, I think 6-1 or something like that, or 4-1, and then. Yeah, then the Champions League. I can't even forget about the Champions League results that season as well, where Liverpool dominated City, and it was this really exciting affair. Then these games, and we can't remember the one 2 seasons and 2 seasons ago in the Premier League where John Stones literally cleared the ball on the line that basically saved the title for City. I mean, it was insane. These games have been classics because they feature some of the best players in the Premier League, the best managers. So it's at Anfield. Liverpool have the momentum of these two new signings. City are on a roll. I'm actually going to roll with, I think Liverpool can find a way, and I think Klopp will find a way, will probably win. And I think they'll get a 2. I'm going to go 3-2. I feel like they'll get a 3-2 win over City. I don't think it's likely, but I'm just going to go with a kind of an exciting scoreline here and go 3-2 Liverpool. Man, if a game, I know we always say this with every big matchup, but if a game needed like a good atmosphere, this game needed, like, could you imagine the cold Anfield air? Like the crowd would be roaring, like it would just be on their feet going wild. Oh, no. Oh, that is, that's very possible. I think it's actually more than likely. I mean, if you had to give a percentage chance, I feel like it'd probably sway more towards the 50, more towards like the 60% mark of that happening. But man, I do not want to see that. I don't think anyone would want to see that because this matchup has always brought out some of the best stuff in the Premier League. Premier League has to offer. Oh, oh yeah, yeah. Man, I can't believe I forgot about that. I'm actually working. I'll be working like the Super Bowl, so I'll be on like the staff and stuff. So I won't. I'll be watching the game, but also I'll be working and such. But if you're asking, I guess like asking my prediction for it, uh, I think I feel like Brady might have a chance to get his 7th ring, but I feel like it'll probably be Patrick Mahomes that wins the Chiefs. So I'll roll with the Chiefs in this one. So no excitement there. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we get some good footy in the morning and then get a good match at the end of the night. So that basically wraps up episode 105 for us. As we always say, you can follow us at the Premier Pod on YouTube and subscribe to us there, but you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Premier Pod. We post our full videos on YouTube, but as we always say, if you leave us a rating and a subscription, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out. But if you don't, that's totally fine. If you could share this podcast with one of your buddies, or if you have a friend that's interested in soccer, that would be interested in any of the topics we talk about, that would be great if you could share it, spread the word around. If not, we do appreciate just you taking the time out of your day to listen to us, because I know everyone's busy, so we appreciate that. But that wraps up season 3, episode 105 for us. Thank you guys so much for listening / watching. Thank you guys. Peace.